Hello everyone, welcome back. So this is the last of a series of tutorial which goes into detail into slice up functionality which are available for free. So in the beginning we saw how we can create an object with a base shape module. Then we just see now we could add or design a base fill for it. And now we're gonna step into the last procedure, which is that of finalizing this geometry as G-code. So when we want to finalize our G-code, we can choose normally in between different building logics, and today we are going to focus on the spiral one. So it's base mode or spiral mode in commonly used slicer. We get the same interface as before, so everything will be happening here in the modeling viewport. And to get started, we need to import the two pieces of geometry we created for our design. So one is the base, which is the file we just created, and I'm going to import it. And next, we also going to import the boundaries we just designed. And everything is going to be joined together in one smooth polyline that goes from the very beginning to the end without any interaction. So this is also great for those technology that don't really cope well with retraction. So let's take a look at the parameter. You can choose to add or not a brim, which is perfect for priming your extruder. As I said, the brim connect directly to the print without any interruption. And next, very important is the procedure to place the object. I will just go full screen. So to place the object, we do it in two steps. First, we select a reference point on the object, and next we place that reference point at any coordinate we like on the bed. So for example, if you're working with Delta technology, you may want to select the center of the object as a reference, and then if you place it at 0, 0 coordinates, it will lie in the center of the bed. For Cartesian printers like the one I use, normally the 0, 0 on the bed is located in the lower left corner. So I will take lower left corner as a reference point on my object. That will be about this point here. And if I place it at 0, 0, this part will be at the very end of the bed. So I just prefer to offset it a little bit to the middle. And this way I will have 3 centimeters from the front of the bed, 3 centimeters from the side, and my object is perfectly placed. The next couple parameters are used to align the seams prior to the spiralization of the path. So they are normally never needed, but in some specific instance where you perform some extreme transformation or use a complex structure or maybe combine different paths together, it happens that the seams are all over the place, and then the spiralization of the path doesn't really work. And you can fix that. You will notice it because you will see something off in the preview, and then you can fix it by aligning and eventually placing the seam where it's best for your spiral. Next, of course, we can choose the type of extrusion we like to work with. Personally, it's relative, and set a print speed. So the print speed will be constant and the same across all movements, of course, within the limit allowed by your printer firmware, right? Next, we talk about the flow math. So this is the part where we calculate the flow for our object. Now, if you're using a standard filament 3D printing, so standard filament fused fabrication, what you want to do is what you normally do with every slicer. You just select the width of the nozzle, then you can select the filament diameter you're using and the extrusion multiplier that works for you and for that specific material. And once you do this, then the slicing module will deal in these parameters in the computation. It will also take into account, of course, the height of the layer and the length of the extrusion, and will just automatically calculate the correct value. If you're using clay or pellets, unless you already worked out a profile with this value, a better solution could be that of using the multiplier only. So when you select only the multiplier, This value they get perfectly ignored, so the nozzle diameter and the filament diameter, they don't matter anymore. And the only thing that matters is the extrusion multiplier. So this value here on the multiplier will be multiplied by the length of each extrusion segment. And so you can end up with a flow that works for your technology or machine. Now I'm using just the standard FFF. Okay, next you can set the layer and the speed for the fan. I use 100% for layer 2. If you don't want the fan, just move it to 0. It's off. And the final important value is that of the spiral base spacing, this value right here. So that basically is going to tell me how tall my spiral is going to start above the last print layer. So if we take a look here, we can focus on this part here. So you can have a look. This is the beginning of our spiral, right? So if you can decide where you place it. If you place the beginning of the spiral to 0, then the spiral will start on the very same level of the last layer you print. This may be good for plastic, for example, but sometimes for ceramic you can create a mess or over extrusion. So what you can do is push this value to 1, and in that case the spiral is gonna start as high as the layer 8 above the last layer you print. Or now on my printer and technology it's 0.2, so a little layer in between the last layer and the spiral at the beginning works well, but that really depends on the technology you use. You may need to make a couple tests out of it. And finally, the XY resolution, I mentioned that earlier. Always try to keep it as low as possible, but like in this case, if I look at the corner, they are a bit too fragmented for my liking. So I will maybe put a mediumized resolution and see how it turns out. Perfect. Now it's way smoother, so I like this. I'm ready. I'm just gonna download my G-code. And I'm almost ready to print. I say almost because there is one more step, which is including head and tail instruction. So the G-code you have now, it's only the set of instructions necessary to print the geometry you indicated. But your machine still does not know what you need to do in order to get ready to print and once it is done printing. So in order to do so, you should add this instruction yourself. I have this template which works for my machine, so I just take the add part of the G-code, which is basically, warm up the extruder, home everything, maybe print out a purge line, and I paste it in. And I do the same for the end part of the G-code. I just manually paste it in at the end of my G-code. And this is, turn out the heater, turn on the fan, disable the stepper motor and stuff like that. And this is everything you need. At this point, you can save, load the G-code on your machine, and start printing and see how it turns out. I hope this one was useful. Maybe see you the next tutorial, yeah? All right, thank you very much, and bye.